What's up, everybody? I guess it's been a couple nights since I've done a live reading. If you watched the recorded episode, I'd be curious to know if that's the same experience or if there's something to the live element of this that makes it feel more immediate. One of the things that I like about doing it live is that it how to say it. When I'm up late and I'm having an anxiety because I'm stressed about stuff, it's very isolating experience, and you're just kind of there on your own, wrapped up in your own anxiety brain thoughts. And reading can help take you out of your own brain space, but it still feels like it can be isolating. So I do like the idea of doing this live and understanding that people might find it helpful to just tune in and tune out and think about something different for a few minutes so that they can move on to something else that they maybe feel more at ease with. But if the recorded video works all the same to you guys, let me know, because that may change how I approach it. At least I'll certainly get better video quality out of it than Facebook Live, but maybe human connection through Facebook Live is also good. I don't know how many of you guys are fans of the Psycho Cinema at film, fan club at the film club at the Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester, Virginia. But Faye, their host, did a title release today from her bathtub, which I thought was an awesome idea. And so maybe I should consider moving story time to the bathtub, and I could read, tastefully from the chest up, from the bathtub, tales of noirish, comedic, murderous vengeance. And maybe that would be something that would all make us feel maybe too close, if you will. So I don't know, things to consider. But I would be curious to know if you like the recorded stuff or if you like the Facebook Live stuff more. That would be good to know. I've been reading from Richard Kadrey's Sandman Slim. It's like a supernatural kind, like Supernatural, the TV show. There's, horror to it and there's comedy to it. And it can be very grimy and very noirish and very funny all at the same time. So if that's kind of your bag or you've enjoyed any of these stories, Richard Kadrey's been writing this series for about 10 years now. And he's got 10 books or so, and with another one due to come out this summer. I think they're all great. They're one of the titles that I go to all the time. So if you're enjoying this at all, I really, really encourage you to go pick up those titles from wherever you like to get books. Sandman Slim. Again, there's the cover. I think that's well lit enough. Sandman Slim is the story of James Stark. He got sent to hell by his friends in a power grab move, and he spent 11 years in the pit, working his way up to be assassin for one of the lords of hell. And he's finally escaped back to his home in Los Angeles, and he intends on paying back his friends as violently as possible. And so far that's going loosely according to no plan that he has. But yeah, so we'll pick up with the reading tonight. I guess we're up to page 95. And yeah, I guess the only other thing I would say before I get started is that, the idea to this, though, is that it's meant to be a break from all the things that are going on and a chance to get outside of your own head. So I am too far away to see the comments at this point on the phone. And, if you tune in for a few minutes or you tune in and you doze off midway through, I think that's just as much a success as anything else is, because it's nice to have something else to focus on. So on that note, I'll pick up with Richard Kadrey's Sandman Slim and see what he gets up to now. I guess where we last left off, he had been given the contact information for a private doctor who's accustomed to dealing with magical oriented folks and their various violent injuries. Hi, I'm calling for Dr. Kinski. I want to make an appointment. I'm sorry, says a soft female voice on the other end of the phone. Dr. Kinski isn't accepting any new patients right now. I'm a friend of Vidoc's. He gave me this number. Oh, you're Eugene's friend, the traveler? How's it to be back in one place? Unsettling. A rambling man. How romantic. Did you get what you wanted out of your trip? If by get what you wanted you mean a bunch of bullets, then yeah, I hit the jackpot. Were they big bullets? Big enough that I noticed. If it's an emergency, I might get the doc to look at you today. Tomorrow will be fine. I love a man who will bleed just to make a point. What's your name? Candy. What's yours? Stark. Yeah, you sound like a Stark. Is that a good thing? It's not a bad thing. I'll take that as a vote of confidence. Take it with cream and sugar if you want. The doc doesn't have any openings tomorrow. He'll call you when he does. Thanks. Thank you, Gene. I'll tell him you said so. Yeah, you better. She hangs up. At 8, I go over to the Bamboo House of Dolls. Carlos is all handshakes and smiles. Anything on the menu, he says, from now until the end of time. I order carne asada, and Carlos brings me the meat with beans, rice, and guacamole. It's like God left his lunch in the microwave, and you get to finish it. By 10, the skinheads haven't come back, so I thank Carlos and head back to the video store. I open Kasabian's closet and let him puff away on the cigarette I hold down for him. His severed head doesn't bother me so much anymore. It's creepy, but familiar, like a three-legged dog. What's in the basement? I ask. I don't know. Would you tell me if you did? I'd tell you politely to kiss my ass. It's over there across the room, so I'll have a good view. You know I'm here to kill the circle. You don't have to be part of that. Tell me something useful, something I can use. Yeah, fuck you sideways, shitstack. I'm trying to find a reason not to put a bullet in you. Kasabian smiles like a cat that just took a crap in your shoes and is waiting for you to find it. I don't know what's down there, but I know this. Mason might be crazier than a sack full of dog's balls, but he kicked your ass to Never Neverland because unlike you, he thinks ahead. Is there something in the basement? I have no doubt. Do I know what it is? No, but I'm sure of one thing. It's gonna make you cry, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. I guess I'd be bitter too if I saw all my friends turn into gods while I was still the bum on the corner, hoping they'd throw me a nickel. See, it's that asshole thing that's gonna get you killed soon. Oh, did I hurt your feelings again? Sorry. When this is over, I'll send some flowers to your inner child. I steal a Porsche 911 on Sunset and pick up Vidoc a little after 2. I drive to Beverly Hills and park where we can see the vacant lot where Mason's house once stood. I sit there for a minute, scanning the street for teeny boppers or insomniac joggers. Are we going in? Vidoc asks. In a minute. I take out the Veritas and put it on my thumb, give it a little flip. In my head is the question, is this a good idea? When I turn the coin over, it reads in Hellion script, when you jump off of a cliff, is it better to land on jagged rocks or burning lava? I know this one. The answer is obvious. It doesn't matter where you land. You just jumped off a cliff. I lead Vidoc to the edge of the vacant lot, near a street light where the shadows are deep and wide enough for 2. I never tried this with another human before. It might be a little weird. It'll feel like you're falling, but you're not. If this works, just step into the room like normal. What will happen if it does not work? I have no idea. Vidoc gets out his flask and takes a big drink. When he's put the flask away, I take his arm and pull him into the biggest, darkest shadow I can find. There's a moment of coolness in the transition, and we're inside the room, easy as a broken leg, and we're both still in one piece. Vidoc looks at me, eyes darting around the room. It worked, then? 2 arms, 2 legs. Yeah, it worked. He lets out a breath and looks around, a little awestruck. We're at the center of the universe, the crossroads of creation. I suppose. I never thought about it that way. For me, it was just the emergency exit out the back of a burning building. Vidoc turns in a slow circle. My God, it really is a room full of doors. 13. What did you expect? I assumed the doors were a metaphor. Each door would be a way to describe a different state of being. No, it's just a lot of doors. Clearly. Where does this one lead you? They change depending on where I want to go. It's all about associations. The door of fire leads to chaotic places, usually dangerous. Wind is mostly calm, but changeable. Dreams leads to, well, dreams. He points to the 13th door. Where does that one go? I never opened it. Why not? Because it scares me shitless. And anyway, that's not how we're going. We're going through here. What is this? The door of the dead. Mason's basement smells like a straw doormat that's been left out in the rain too long. It's also pitch black. Vidocq takes a glass vial from his pocket and blows on it. The room fills with light. Who needs a flashlight when you have your own personal alchemist? Paint is peeling off the basement walls and ceiling in jagged sheets. Thick roots grow down from the lot above and creep across the ceiling and walls like black and brittle arteries. A knot of roots has rotted away the plaster from one wall, leaving exposed lath. The furniture sits exactly where I last saw it years earlier. Tables, chairs, and a sofa, woolly with mold. In the center of the room is what remains of the magic circle. Some of the chalk is still visible where it's melted into the rotten floorboards. The burned stubs of candles are still lying around the circle, like the last people in here left quickly and never came back. I can't get hold of any one feeling. It's like my brain and my guts and my heart are stuck in a speeded up old-school kung fu fight. Different parts of me want to run off screaming in different directions. One part of me wants to puke quietly, but thoroughly in a far corner of the room. Another part of me wants to rip the place apart, board by board, brick by brick. And the weakest and smallest part of me, the one I seriously don't want to hear from, is nothing but apologies and regrets. Sorry, Alice, you told me not to come here, but I did. Then everything else happened. One part of me that's left is the 10 o'clock news. That's the part I hold on to, the cold camera eye. Just take in the scene and report the facts. These ruins aren't my private apocalypse. They're the haunted house ride at Disneyland. Digital spooks and Dolby stereo moans, almost as scary as a basket of kittens. What are we looking for? Asks Vidocq. I shrug. No idea. We move around the room, looking for a clue or a sign that points to something more than damp wreckage. I move furniture and trash away with the toe of my boot. I don't want to touch anything. I don't know if we're going to find anything interesting in here. Mason always hinted that he had a hidden room where he kept all his important stuff, but none of us ever found it. Much as I don't want to, I lean against the mildewed wall. My head is suddenly spinning. Voices and faces shoot through me like streaks of lightning. I can even feel echoes of the circle, all of them, even my younger self trapped in here. I've heard of dark magicians doing this. Sometime in the past, Mason hermetically sealed the room from the rest of the world with a kind of barrier hex. He didn't want what he was doing to leak out into the ether. It might let other magicians know that he was horse trading with Hellions. A lot of scary things pass through this room. A lot more than the few beasties that drag me downtown. Some I can see and feel, but others are just blurs that I can't get a fix on. The inside of their heads is all hunger and knives like insects. I'm not sorry that I can't get any farther inside. I've been getting used to sensations of other people's thoughts and feelings, but the intensity of this place makes the experience new and weird again. Suddenly, I don't want to be here anymore. Ha! Vidocq is in the corner of the room with one hand pressed up against the ceiling and the other pressed into a small divot in the wall. The opposite corner of the room scrapes open, dragging on the junk that's accumulated in the door mechanism over the years. I said that I would show you how a good thief earns his keep, Vidocq says happily. With his bottled light, he leads the way into the hidden room. The hidden room is in a lot better shape than the other. There's a lot of power in the hidden room. It's protected by much more powerful spells than any of the rest of the house. Every inch of the walls, floors, and ceiling is covered with multicolored runes, sigils, and angular, angelic, and Hellion scripts. Vidocq is studying the place with grim intensity. He runs his fingers over the wall, and they come away black. He sniffs the dust on his hand, touches a blackened finger to his tongue. What is it? I ask. Ivory black, he says, made from burned bones and animal horns. Is that bad? It's a traditional pigment. It goes back thousands of years. He moves his light over the walls and holds it up to the ceiling. This symbol, painted with cinnabar, a mixture of mercury and sulfur heated together, cobalt and aluminum chloride, also heated, make this blue. Here is antimony yellow. This particular red comes from boiling the iron oxide found in blood. All these hues, these colors, were made skillfully with chemicals and great heat. He holds up his light and turns 360 degrees, taking in the whole room. Everything here was born in fire. Bring the light over here, will you? Vidocq carries the light over to where I'm standing. There's strange writing on the wall, but it's not Hellion. It's something I've never seen before, like cuneiform that's been gashed into the wall with a meat cleaver. A symbol painted in bloody iron oxide covers the rest of the wall. It's a circle that wraps around and around its own interior, folding in on itself. It's a labyrinth, an ancient symbol of the deepest, darkest secrets and final Jeopardy hard knowledge. Something shimmers at the center of the labyrinth. I dig my fingernails into the soft plaster and pry out the treasure. It's a Zippo lighter. On the front is a kind of cigar-chomping, hot rod devil's head done by an artist who signs his name Coop. I turn this lighter over and click open the top, looking for a message, an inscription, or anything that might point us to what Mason was doing out down here. There's nothing. I flick the Zippo closed. It's just a lighter. Vidocq takes it from me and examines it closely under the light. In a minute, he shakes his head and hands it back to me. Maybe your friend Mason is a person who enjoys practical jokes? Yeah, he likes a good fuck you, but I don't remember him being much for jokes. Then we are missing something. I toss the Zippo up and down in my hand a few times, enjoying the weight of it. What's a lighter for? Vidocq scrapes his feet on the dusty floor. To give us fire. I hold the lighter up, click open the top, and strike the flint once. The room fills with light. Way too much light. It leaks from the walls and the floor. We have to wrap our arms over our eyes to keep from going blind. Something brushes my arm. Dirt swirls from the floor as wind explodes around us, getting stronger by the second. For a minute, I wonder if I'm hallucinating, feeling some stranger's memory. Then Vidocq stumbles into me, blown over by a sudden gust, and I know this is all real. I move my arm down to my eyes to adjust the light. I move my arm down as my eyes adjust to the light. It's pure white and keeps moving like ripples on the bottom of a swimming pool. The walls look like stretched skin and something is trying to come through them. We can see the silhouettes of faces and arms as they reach for us, straining at the thin wall flesh. The bodies writhe and twist, unable to hold a shape very long as they press in on us. Arms like roiling packs of snakes, bodies like the skeletons of fish and birds, faces that seem to be all teeth, all nails, or screaming from the ends of arms where the creature's hands should be. Vidocq shouts, "Can't you take us out of here?" We need a shadow, but the light's everywhere. Vidocq flings open his coat. Vials containing his potions, rows and rows of them, are sewn into the lining. He pulls out one after the other and hurls them at the grasping hands. I get the skinhead's Luger from my pocket and fire off a few rounds at the silhouettes. They don't even seem to notice. I grab Vidocq's sleeve and pull him towards the door, firing the Luger until it's empty. Vidocq keeps throwing his vials. Every now and then, an arm or a monstrous face contorts in pain from our feeble attack, but the wall goblins come roaring back at us a second later. At the door, Vidocq shoves me away. "Let me go," he shouts, and tears his arm free. He's back inside the possessed room with the walls just inches away from him. He reaches into the very bottom of his coat lining and pulls out a bottle the size of his brandy flask, screaming, "Tas de merde!" He smashes the bottle on the writhing mass of arms and fangs and throws himself back into the room with me, knocking us both to the filthy floor. The secret room is on fire, but the creatures in the walls are still trying to get at us, only they seem to be trapped behind an invisible barrier. Unfortunately, the fire is not. The rotten wood in our room ignites the moment the flame gets near us. In a few seconds, the place is blazing like Nero's Roman holiday. The good news is that a burning room creates a lot of excellent shadows. I grab Vidocq and drag him down into a deep slash of darkness at the edge of the circle. We emerge, stumbling into the room of 13 doors, eyes tearing, lungs burning with smoke. I don't stop moving, but guide Vidocq through the door of memory and out onto the cool and silent streets of Beverly Hills. The Porsche is at the other end of the block. We run for it. By the time we get there, Mason's vacant lot is cracking open and flames are shooting 2 stories into the air. By the time I get the car started and do a screaming 180, the whole lot has collapsed in on itself, shaking the street like an earthquake and blasting a fat orange fireball into the night sky. I floor the Porsche, taking the first turn out of Beverly Hills on 2 wheels. There's an unlit parking lot behind an out-of-business movie multiplex, Hollywood Boulevard and Selma Avenue. I park in the far corner so no one can see us from the street. I'm still rasping. I know it's the smoke in my lungs, but it feels like I've been holding my breath since we got out of the ground. When I kill the Porsche's engine, we can hear the scream of fire trucks echoing off the building all the way across town. Sounds like a lot of them. Vidocq snorts. They always look after the rich. It's the same in all cities, in all times, all over the world. What was in the last bottle you threw back there? Spiritus Dei oil. A venerable old Catholicon and poisonous to almost any Hellion or lurker beast. Very hard to find. That was my last bottle. Sorry, man. Don't worry. The man I said I'd introduce you to will have more. I take the Zippo out of my pocket. What am I going to do with this thing? Keep it. My exceptional knowledge of magic and the transmutation of elements tells me that it is not an ordinary lighter. It's a stupid vessel for such a powerful talisman. Perhaps it was created for someone Mason knew would be drawn to it. You think Mason left it for me? Vidocq shrugs wearily. I don't know, but it does seem more votre modèle than the other members of your circle. Yeah, I walked right off that cliff, but maybe the lighter will tell us something. Let us hope. So you think Mason knows I'm back? You just blew up his home. He might suspect something. I open and close my hands on the steering wheel, holding it tight. I'm not ready yet. I barely have my feet on the ground. Opportunity always comes too early or too late. But with what you found tonight, you are one step closer to your heart's desire. I flip open the top of the lighter and strike it once. Vidocq jerks away, banging his shoulder into the door. The little flame flickers, but nothing else happens. I want a cigarette, but my throat and lungs feel like hot gravel. I close the lighter and put it back in my pocket. When we meet with this guy with the Spiritus Dei, I'll pay. Excellent. I was about to suggest that very thing. You should meet him as soon as possible. You think? Absolument. He is a man who knows and possesses many useful things, and I think soon you will need more than your Sundance Kid guns to stay alive. After I drop off Vidocq, I stop behind a nearby Safeway, wipe the Luger for prints, and stuff it in the bottom of a very full and very smelly dumpster. I don't want the Luger near me. Who knows what crimes those Nazi freaks committed with it. The Bamboo House of Dolls will be closed by now, but I need something to drink. I ditch the Porsche a block from Donut Universe, get a large black coffee and a couple of old fashions, and walk the few blocks to Max Overdrive. I finish the coffee and one of the donuts when I reach the store. The lights are on. The front door is open and the glass shattered. I throw away the food, pull Azazel's knife from my boot, and go inside quietly. The place is a wreck. Racks are turned over and discs and cases are scattered everywhere. The cash register, though, looks untouched, so it wasn't thieves or crackheads who got in. I kick through the broken glass and discs, wondering who would want to just trash the place when I see a shoe sticking out from one of the upturned racks. I grab the rack and flip it over. Allegra is lying there. She's a mess. Her clothes are torn and her hands and face are bloody. I put my ear against her chest and am relieved to hear a slow and steady heartbeat. She weighs practically nothing, so I pick her up and carry her to my room. The door at the top of the stairs has been kicked in. I set Allegra on the bed and cover her with a blanket. When I go into the bathroom to get a wet cloth, I see something a lot scarier than the ghouls in Mason's basement. The door to Kasabian's closet is ripped off its hinges. He's gone. I clean the blood off Allegra's face and drape the cool cloth across her forehead. When I push open her eyelids, her pupils are wide and they stay that way. A concussion. Not good. She moves her head and groans a little before pushing my hand away. What happened? I'm cold. She's going into shock. I wrap the sheet around her. You're hurt. Mr. Kasabian left. He looked dead, but he said goodbye. I'm taking you to the hospital. She sits upright, almost. She gets halfway and drops back down. No hospital. You have to. You're hurt. No hospital. They might call the cops. I didn't see that coming. I'm taking you anyway. That's exactly the wrong thing to say. Allegra grabs my arm, pulls herself up, and tries to slap me. It's pretty impressive for someone who's gasping like a dying goldfish. No hospitals. No cops. Having finally gotten the point, I help her back down to the bed. Scraps of paper, half-eaten burritos, and ashtrays full of cigarettes are piled on Kasabian's work table. I paw around the debris until I find the phone. I dial Kinski's number. Someone picks up on the 6th ring. Is this Candy? This is Stark. Stark? Lovely to hear from you. Tell me, Stark, do the clocks on your planet work like ours? Because the ones here on Earth tell me it's late for chit-chat. Shut up, I have a civilian here, and I'm pretty sure she's been hurt with magic. I don't know how bad, but I think she's got a concussion. Kinski is the only doctor I know about in L.A., so I'm bringing her to see him. If he isn't there when I get there, I'm going to be extremely unhappy. Okay. Do you have the address? Fucking brilliant. I'm threatening people I don't know, but need, at an address I don't have. Give it to me. She does. See you soon, she says. I carry Allegra downstairs and leave her by the front door. Outside, I scan the street for transportation. I want something big so that Allegra can lie down, but mostly it's Japanese compacts and Detroit Tinker toys. Down by the corner, I see what I want, a shiny red Escalade. The problem is that two guys are sitting inside. Still, it's worth checking out. The guys are talking and laughing, passing a joint back and forth, not a care in the world. I hate the idea of carjacking for one simple reason. It's a dog crime, a crime for morons, and any little shit sack with the $50 to buy a Saturday night special. Still, I want the Escalade, and I want it now. I look back at Max Overdrive, but Allegra's inside and I can't see her. As I turn back to the van, there's a glint from the rear driver's side window that I missed before. The glass is gone, the window is broken, the van is stolen. Hallelujah. I'm not carjacking, I'm regifting. I go for the passenger first. He's so ripped that when I grab him, he's in full ragdoll mode. Loose and relaxed, that's a good way to hit the ground if you're ever thrown or pulled from a vehicle. I only toss him about 10 or 15 feet farther than I meant to. I've been boxing giant fire-breathing jellyfish and hellions with skin like titanium. What do I know about fighting humans? The driver is a pimply scarecrow with a mohawk and a Dirty Sex Pistols t-shirt ripped just so. He looks like a 12-year-old dressed up like Sid Vicious for Halloween. When his buddy goes flying out the van, his buzzed brain finally realizes that something is happening. He starts fumbling in his waistband for his gun, but his pothead reflexes aren't helping him. He might as well be wearing oven mitts, but I'd rather not get shot again if he manages to get all his digits working. While he fumbles, I grab the top of the door frame, kick off the edge of the passenger door, and slide across the Escalade's roof, landing cat quiet on the driver's side. Speed Racer has finally gotten the gun out, cocked and pointed at exactly where I'm not anymore. I lean in the open window, grab him by the neck, and haul him out, pinning his gun arm to his body. When he struggles, I bounce his head off the side of the van. Just once, dazed and docile, it's easy to flip him over my shoulder and carry him around the van and dump him near his friend. His gun I toss down a sewer grate. Back at Max Overdrive, Allegra is on her feet, shaky as a newborn calf. I scoop her up in both arms, carry her to the Escalade, open the back, and lay her out flat. No hospital, she says. I know. Where are we going? For ice cream. What's your favorite flavor? Fuck you. That's my favorite, too. The two guys I tossed out of the van weren't complete idiots after all. They did a decent job of bypassing the Escalade's alarm and cutting into the van's keyless ignition. I twist a couple of exposed wires together and the Escalade purrs to life. Stepping on the accelerator, I cut the van across 2 lanes of traffic, twist the wheel, and aim the Escalade down Hollywood to where it crosses Sunset. This isn't a situation where red lights, yellow lights, or anything that slows us down are acceptable, but what kind of spell do you use to change the timing of traffic lights? If I wasn't such a freak show attraction, I'd know something like that, or I'd be able to fake it the way I faked my way through magic in the old days. All I can think of right now is a Hellion controlling spell, something I'd throw at an opponent in the arena to take control of their body and keep them from murdering me for a little while longer. As the light turns yellow at the intersection ahead, I bark out the spell. Literally bark. High Hellion is mostly a bunch of low guttural verbs and nouns strung together with growling adjective gristle. It sounds like a wolf with throat cancer. I get the spell out as the light goes from yellow to red. As I finish, it flips back to yellow, then the light explodes. The housing suddenly white-hot shrapnel that hits the Escalade roof like metal hailstones. The light's support pole is pretty much gone. So are the overhead lines that send juice to electric buses below. Sorry, commuters. Tell your boss to fuck off tomorrow. Some terrorist asshole blew up all your vital crosswalk signals. The second and third lights explode too. The fourth just kind of sizzles, spits sparks, and goes out. I don't even look after that. It's flare guns and Roman candles all the way down to Sunset. The address Candy gave me is in a strip mall that hadn't been there before I went downtown. I pull the Escalade into the parking lot and help Allegra out of the back. She insists on walking on her own, which I choose to see as a good sign. Doc Kinski's office is tucked between a fried chicken franchise and a nail salon with signs in Vietnamese and dyslexic English. I double-check the address. It checks out. The office is a blank storefront with blinds covering all the windows and the words "Existential Healing" on the door in gold peel and stick letters. I try the door, but it's locked. I start pounding and the door swings open almost immediately. A tiny, shaggy-haired brunette in tattered black jeans and Chuck Taylors stands there. Candy? Stark? From the way she talked on the phone, I was expecting a big, blonde Judy Holliday type, not Joan Jett's little sister. Bring her inside. Doc is waiting. The inside of the clinic is as bare as the outside. A couple of junkyard desks with a not very new looking laptop on top of one, a file cabinet covered in real estate stickers, half a dozen metal folding chairs, and a pile of Sports Illustrated and Cosmopolitans, probably pulled from the dumpster behind the nail salon. This is the office of Vidoc's Angel of Mercy? I'm seriously thinking about taking Allegra out of here into a real hospital, no matter what I promised her. Then Kinski walks out of his exam room. What are you waiting for? Get the girl in here, he tells me. I do. Kinski is as impressive as his office isn't. He's tall, a little taller than me, like me. He'd been a lanky boy, but the years have added a few pounds to his middle and etched lines like a desert riverbed around his eyes, but he's still handsome. You can tell that when he was young, he'd been the kind of good-looking that made girls forget about their boyfriends for the night and made guys want to punch him in the face on principle. Allegra is too wobbly to walk anymore. I pick her up, follow Kinski into the next room, and set her down on a padded exam table. He touches her head and cheeks, takes her pulse at her wrist and her neck, and moves each lid back for a look at her eyes. Allegra squirms on the table and tries to push him away. You hurting? He asks. Yeah, my head. Anywhere else? Allegra shakes her head. Okay, I want you to try and relax. Just breathe in and out real deeply. Can you do that? She nods, takes in long breaths, and lets them out slowly. Kinski puts one hand lightly on her forehead and keeps it there. He pats himself down and finds something like a piece of blackened jerky from his breast pocket. Chew on this, he says, putting the jerky between her lips. What is it? She asks. You'll like it. It's dried fruit. It tastes good. She chews, and he keeps his hand on her, staring down like he's listening for something. I hear it, too. Her breathing and heartbeat slow abruptly. Her body relaxes. Kinski shoots me a quick glance like he knows that I can hear it, too. She's out, he says to Candy, and turns back to me. What really happened to her? I don't know exactly. I came back and the place was broken into. I think by a guy named Parker. He's another magician. Some magic things were missing. What kind of things? A guy? Part of a guy? Really? Part of a guy. Okay. Are you fooling around with stuff over there that's going to make this girl's condition more complicated? Any potions or herbs related to necromancy? Are you playing with any resurrection rituals? Never. Okay, but you come in here with an injured girl and tell me that some magic part of a guy that you don't want to talk about gets stolen, and I start thinking zombies, and that is some serious stuff. It's nothing like that. The guy wasn't dead. I was real careful about that. So careful this girl's skull is cracked. Can you fix her? I've fixed worse. He looks over at Candy. You want to get me the things, honey? I want to make sure this girl is all the way dozing before I take my hand off. How many do you want? I think 6 should do it. Candy gets 6 fist-sized objects from an old medical cabinet. Each of the objects is wrapped in dark purple silk. She sets them on the exam table next to Allegra and unwraps them. They're 6 shiny pieces of some milky white stone. Kinski lets go of Allegra, takes 2 of the stones, and places them on each side of her head. Candy places others over her heart and in her hands. Kinski puts the last piece, the smallest and nearly flat, between Allegra's teeth. He gets old, unglazed clay jars from under the table, pours several oils onto his hands, rubs them together to mix them, then smears the dark potion on Allegra's face. The oils smell like jasmine and wet pavement after a rain. Candy gives Kinski a carved wooden stylus, and he draws symbols, strange letters, and runes into the oil. I lean in to get a better look at the markings. He's drawing a spell on her, but I don't know what kind. I've never seen one like it before. I recognize the characters surrounding the central circle and 7-pointed star, however. The symbols are an old angelic script, Enochian. Azazel taught me some spells from ancient books written in that script. Kinski can't be a Hellion because only Lucifer can walk out of hell, but Hellions have plenty of human lapdogs, lurker groupies, and satanic assholes. Kinski can't be one, though. Vidoc would know, and he'd never send me to the guy. Still, I slip my hand under my coat and touch Azazel's knife. Kinski sets down the stylus. He's finished the spell, and the stones around Allegra begin to glow. They shine right through her. I can see the outline of her veins and arteries, muscles and bones, and her beating heart. Kinski is chanting quietly. I try to listen to the words, but all I want to do is cover my eyes. I put one arm over my face and get hold of the knife with my other hand. I can feel someone pressing against me from behind. It's Candy. She leans against me and lightly touches my arm, the one holding the knife. It's okay, she whispers. Relax. Everything's going to be okay. Her voice is like honey and heroin, sweet and sleepy. My shoulders unknot, my legs get weak, my whole body relaxes, but I don't let go of the knife. The stone's light fades suddenly. The room is back to normal. I turn, expecting to see Candy behind me, but she's over by the table, helping Kinski wrap the stones in silk and put them back in the cabinet. He pushes up each of Allegra's eyelids and takes her pulse like a regular doctor. She's going to need to rest for a while before she can be moved. Candy, can you stay with her? I want to speak to this young man. Sure, hon. I follow Kinski out through the waiting room to the parking lot. You have any cigarettes? I'm out, he says. I hold out the pack for him to take one, light it for him. He looks older and more tired under the streetlights. So, you're Eugene's fair-haired boy. And you're his Florence Nightingale. Nice light show back there. It gets the job done. Nice office, too. Did you get that stuff at one garage sale, or did you shop around? Eugene said you had a mouth on you. Look, thanks for what you did back there, but what do you want? I'm expecting to see a hospital or a clinic, and I walk into a peep show booth full of stuff that fell off a garbage truck. He chuckles. Yeah, sometimes I think we might take the humble healer thing too far. Is Allegra going to be all right? She'll be fine. Her head's probably going to hurt for a day or two. It's not the injury. It's just something that happens to civilians when you blast their bones back together like that. It's my fault she's hurt. Yeah, I assume that. Eugene said there were some ugly people looking for you. Guess they found her instead. Yeah, I'm going to find them, and no one's going to blast their bones back together. Well, you take care of that girl in there first. You might be hell on two legs, but she needs taking care of. Throw a sheltering spell on her. Get Eugene to give her some protection charms. I should have done that when I first moved into the store. Yeah, you fucked up. So fix it. Here. He pulls a pencil-sized piece of lead from his side pocket and puts it in my hand. Now you don't have any excuse. You can draw the circle and do any spell you want. I haven't done that kind of magic in a long time. What kind of magic have you been doing? Killing things, mostly. That'll make you friends. Try a shielding spell later. Maybe having the lead in your hand will trigger some muscle memory and it'll come back to you. If you can't make it work, call me. I'll talk you through it. Okay. You should call me anyway. Let me take those bullets out of you. 5, isn't it? Maybe they won't kill you, but they can still cause an infection. If they do, you can just fix me with your rocks. Rocks? Oh, those. No, those are glass. I've never even heard of glass like that. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Those are some of the rarest objects in existence. I don't suppose you'd let me take those slugs out tonight. No thanks. Maybe when I'm done. That's what I figured. Kinski flicks the remains of his cigarette out into the dark lot and looks at his watch. Your young lady is probably back on her feet by now. What do I owe you? Kinski shakes his head. We'll settle up when you let me take those bullets. And listen, Candy gets kind of pissy when unexpected calls come late at night. Her people get twitchy after dark, but she gets over it. You have any problems, you need anything, and Eugene can't help, you call me. You don't even know me. Why would you do that? I was young and reckless and stupid once, too. Maybe between Eugene and me, we can keep you alive long enough to wise up. What did you do that was so reckless and stupid? I'll tell you when you let me get those bullets. I was in hell, I say. I have no idea why, except that there's something about Kinski that reminds me of my father. He's bringing out some weird little kid part of me that wants to confess my sins and ask for forgiveness, only I don't want forgiveness from anything or anyone. But right now I can't stop myself. I was in hell for 11 years. Most Hellions have never even seen a live human. I was the most exciting thing that happened to them since they were booted out of heaven. When they got done with me, when the torture and freak shows and all that got boring, I killed things for them. I was really good at it. I knew there was a reason you are the way you are. I guess a season in hell is a better excuse than most. Vidocq told you? Relax, boy. It's L.A. We've got all secrets around here. And we know how to keep them. Who are her people? Excuse me? You said Candy gets pissy about unexpected late-night calls. What does that mean? Oh, he says, and opens the clinic door. She's a jade. But we're working on it. Candy walks Allegra out of the clinic while I open up the Escalade. We both help get her inside, stretched out in the back. Thanks, I tell Candy. You're welcome. I start the engine, but she keeps standing there. She gestures for me to roll down the window. I push the button and the glass slides away. She steps up to the running board and leans into the car just a few inches from my face. Doc told you about me, I can tell. I want you to know you don't have to be afraid of me. Eugene likes you. Doc likes you. That means I like you. We're all family now. All the funny little people who live in the cracks in the world. People say that jades are like vampires, but really they're more like human tarantulas. When you get bit, you don't swoon in, Bela Lugosi ecstasy, you're paralyzed, while something in the jade's saliva dissolves you from the inside. Then they drink you, leaving you as hollow as a chocolate Easter bunny. I haven't been this close to a jade in a long time, and it's freaking me out a little. I say, I used to kill your kind. She grins. I used to kill yours. See, we already have something in common. Is the Doc a jade or something? Doc? Wow, in the history of wrong guesses, that was about the wrongest wrong guess since ever. You're not like other jades I've met. What, I'm not all slinky and seductive? No, you're cute enough. You're just not much of a monster. Well, that's okay. I think you're monster enough for both of us. Allegra sits up and looks around. Are we home yet? She asks. I should go. Yeah, you should, says Candy. She gives me a peck on the cheek and jumps down off the van. Kinski comes outside. She runs over to him and slips under his big arm as he holds it up for her. She waves as we pull out of the parking lot. I should have known that Candy was a jade back in the exam room. That trick she did with her voice, almost sending me to sleep on my feet. That's Black Widow 101 stuff. She sure didn't come on like a jade, except for one thing. That kiss on the cheek came from lips as cold as any dead thing I've ever touched. So why did I enjoy it so much? After being a monk for most of 11 years, any attention from a cute girl, alive or dead, will get under your skin. There's the good news. The bad news, on top of everything else, I might be turning into a necrophiliac. I think that's probably enough for tonight. If you tuned in midway, I've been reading Richard Kadrey's Sandman Slim. I'm a big fan of his, so if you liked what you heard, I definitely recommend you check out the book. The Sandman Slim series has got about 10 books in it, and it's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, so that's story time for tonight, and I guess that'll do it. And until tomorrow.